welcome. David Levin here, Raising the Game today. This is Tuesday, so we're talking about the mental game of sports and competition. Fridays are for the rest of our lives. This week, I want to talk about the new Formula One movie with Brad Pitt called F1. I imagine you've heard about it. There's a lot to like in this movie, even if you're not a Formula One fan. I am sort of a fan from watching the Drive to Survive series on Netflix. It was fun to see the drivers I recognize in the movie. They filmed a good bit of it at actual races, so you see a lot of real people from the sport in the film. That's fun. It was also co-produced by Lewis Hamilton, one of the all-time great drivers who's still actively racing for Ferrari this year. So it's also probably as realistic as it could be, considering they needed to make it a good story. Anyway, I definitely recommend the film if you're interested. I love the heart of the story of Brad Pitt's character. His name is Sonny Hayes. I don't want to spoil anything if you haven't seen it, but they do a great job of showing the deep love and passion he has for racing. And I'm sure most athletes, especially at the elite levels, feel that same kind of passion for their sport. It has to be the hardest thing when you have to transition out of your sport and into the rest of your life. There's likely nothing that can ever give you that feeling you get when you're competing at the top of your game. It's just the most alive they probably ever feel. That's certainly the case for Sonny Hayes in the movie, and you really feel that. There's actually a lot of great things about his mental game in the movie, his attitude, his focus, his work ethic. But the part I wanted to talk about, that I thought was a good lesson for the rest of us, has to do with that special alive feeling he talks about. He doesn't use the word in the film, but he's basically talking about flow, the flow state. All of a sudden, everything slows down, everything gets quiet, you can see everything, and no one can stop you. That's the common description you hear of the flow state from, the few athletes who talk about it. And it sounds amazing, right? Especially to anyone thinking about trying to improve their mental game. That's kind of the goal, and you hear a lot of people in the space say that, looking for that flow. But I actually think that's a mistake. I don't support the idea of trying to learn to create a flow state for yourself. And that might surprise you if you know anything about our material, because I talk all the time about the need to get your thoughts quiet, to get out of your head, be fully focused and present in the moment. And of course, that's what our training teaches athletes to do. So how is that different from a flow state? And why would anyone not want to try and create that flow experience? Here's how I think about it. A true flow state is a subset of a quiet thoughts state. All flow states involve your thoughts being quiet, but not all quiet thought states are flow states. Hope that makes sense. For example, if you're doing a sitting meditation, you'll have moments where your thoughts are quiet. That's the whole nature of the exercise. But those will not be the kind of feeling that Sonny Hayes talks about in this movie, right? They're related, but they're different. So the reason I don't think it's a good idea to seek out a flow state as your goal is because I'm not convinced it can be done. You can absolutely learn how to quiet your thoughts during competition. Again, that's what we teach in our programs. And you definitely want to do that because it's the most powerful thing you can do to improve your game and your life in general. But if your goal is to go beyond that and learn to create an actual flow state, you're going to be disappointed. I don't believe that can be intentionally done. I've never heard anyone offer a way to do that. So if that's your goal, you're going to think you failed in your mental game work when you've actually been completely successful. So the much smarter goal, in my mind, is to seek to develop the practical mental game skills to get yourself into the peak performance state you can reliably achieve. First, it really is all you need. It also makes a flow state experience more likely because you're getting yourself right up next to it, right? Quieting your thoughts is sort of a prerequisite state. But you get yourself as far along that path as you need, and then if the flow state happens, it's a special bonus. Anyway, that is mental game lessons from the F1 movie. The flow state he talks about is probably the peak experience any of us can have. But don't let that be your goal. Focus instead on what you can do, which is to learn how to get control of your thoughts and emotions in the moment. All right, I hope that was helpful. If you want to know more about how to do that, how to learn how to get control of your thoughts and emotions, check out our training programs at raiseyourinnergame.com. Otherwise, let me know any questions. Keep up the good work. I'll see you next time.